What does it mean to witness your loved ones being killed by your very own nation state? The nation where the people's religious sentiments and emotions are continuously being put on shame. The country I am referring here is India, the biggest democracy in the world. The desecration of the holy Sikh book has brought enormous pain and sufferings to the entire Sikh community around the world. I personally was devastated by these incidents of disrespect towards our holy book in the state of Punjab. Sikhs in Punjab peacefully protested against the desecration of Guru Granth Sahib, the holy book of Sikhs. But those peaceful protests were marked by the violence from the state, which results in loss of 2 Sikh lives. There was no coverage by any Indian media on this whole issue, as this is generally the notion when the Sikh lives are at stake. But I would like to question the Canadian mainstream media in their positioning and their silence on the Sikh issues. The mainstream media are considered an important part in any given society, as it constructs ideologies and defines communities. The media has tremendous power and reach in this current digital world. Sikhs occupy 0.9% of the total Canadian population. There are 15 Sikh MPs elected in this federal elections of Canada. There are 4 Sikhs who are appointed as cabinet ministers in this newly elected Liberal Party. Despite the religious diversity in the country, the mainstream media commonly ignores faith group minorities to maintain the dominant white hegemony. From the last few weeks, there has been huge deployment of army and police in Punjab state to remove the peaceful protesters from their positions, but there has been very little done by the state to catch the criminals who are doing desecration of our holy Guru Granth Sahib. As I was looking into various media groups for the news, I found very few articles about this whole issue. Throughout history, the mainstream Canadian media coverage occasionally includes the news about the Sikh community. But when it portrays the Sikh identity, it is usually labeling them violent and extremist. The Air India bombing attack is an example of such allegations that is being blamed on Sikhs by Canadian mainstream media without any actual real proof. Soft Target, a book written on the Air India attack by Brian McAndrew and Zuhair Kashmiri, questions the involvement of Indian intelligence agencies on this whole attack. But sadly, mainstream Canadian media has never tried to question that attack, but rather giving their judgment that it was the Sikhs who were behind that terror attack. The another event that shows their biased nature was recently Canada's visit of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Canadian mainstream media did not even question the behavior of Modi's government towards the minorities in Indian nation state. There were a large number of peaceful protests that were organized against Modi in Canada, but there was no coverage by any of the mainstream Canadian media. The media put emphasis on the importance of Indo-Canadian ties, but never talked about the conditions of minority religious groups in the Indian nation state. The Sikh community often are under spotlight when there are news on crimes or murders. The media never touches on any positives of the Sikh community in the Canada. There is never any sympathy for the Sikhs, even when Sikhs are being deprived for their rights and their freedom. The mainstream media of Canada has even redefined the regional Punjabi media in Canada. The regional Punjabi media of Canada has internalized that fear that forces them to prove themselves among Canadians. I would like to give one example from South Asian daily news media situated in Ontario that states of the current Punjab crisis, protesters and shopkeepers clash in a Jalandhar, highlighting and blaming the Sikhs as disruptors of silence rather than questioning the actions of state. They did not critically analyze the whole situation in a sense that they have not written anything about the misconduct of the state. They divert the public from the core issues to focus on these anti-Sikh antics to confuse the Sikh population to consider themselves at a fault. I felt the pain from these events that happened in my nation Punjab. But instead of being blaming on my own people, I felt that people's reactions toward the desecration of Guru Granth Sahib was an act of bravery against powerful, arbitrary state of immense power and authority. As our religious values teach us, Sikhs live with pride of their Guru. But when there is a threat against our Guru, we can sacrifice our lives for our Guru. 2 Sikhs who were peacefully protesting against the state were being shot by the police, and many were injured. I would definitely condemn the arbitrary nature of the police who were not being questioned by any media groups. I would argue with the media's claim by putting blame on Sikhs because I felt it is very important to bring the point here that democratic country like India, where constitution allows every citizen to protest, their actions should be questioned. The Sikhs, who are always labeled as a threat towards the society, should be considered as the victims of the state. I would like to appeal the journalists of Canada to portray and frame their news in a more critical way that will give space to oppressed groups, to give them voice so that everybody in Canada can feel and stand for injustice against any oppressed groups. Sikhs have died for fighting for the Canada, but here I'm not asking for any special sympathy. What I'm asking is right to be heard.